TrueHouse, episode 461. And good evening to Instagram as well. Okay, I think we're good. All right. Okay, well, welcome. And it is little old me again. This is my third attempt at episode 461. Would you believe? There is a reason for this. Those of you who are relatively regular will know anyway, but I did stick a post up. I've just had a preposterously painful neck. My days of going to see, well, let me put it this way, my days of being adjusted are gone. That is when you've got, well, I shouldn't say you, I have 17 inches of metal in my spine, and that does rule out any, sort of chiropractic type adjustment. So anyway, it will get better, and it is getting better, but I've just been in daft pain. I pride myself on being able to tolerate pain. That's not to sound tough, but yeah, it's been crazy. Anyway, don't want to bore you with that. That's enough on that. But it's it has subsided enough for me to stream tonight. Okay, tonight is my last. God, this feels so strange. Tonight is my last stream as a 40-year-old. I will be turning 50 tomorrow. I know what you're thinking. I don't look a day over 60. It's funny, isn't it? When you look at yourself in the mirror, your own, I mean, I try not to. These days, 20 years ago, I would look at myself in the mirror probably pretty frequently. I think we all, especially people from this community, from physical culture and the gym industry and the health and fitness industry, to be specific, I don't think there was any shortage of narcissists, and I don't think there was a lack of supply of hubris, and certainly the nigh on 3 decades, 27 years I spent in bodybuilding, it wasn't necessarily admiring, but assessing one's appearance, assessing oneself was normal. So, yeah, in my 20s and 30s, for that matter, it would be routine for me to, again, not adoringly, not admiringly, but in terms of assessing, in terms of, let me see how I'm looking, let me see how I'm progressing. And unless you had a hood on or a mask on, if you were looking at your body, you would also certainly be aware of your face shape. And during, I don't even like this language, but to make it mainstream, bulking phases, when bodybuilders are in the off season and tend to put on more body weight, one would lose one's jawline, and the more attractive model look of a razor sharp jawline would inevitably be associated with low body fat, which occurs when one is prepping for a show or whatever. And it can be anything. When I say prepping, I mean a show or a shoot or any event, anything that required you to be at your best, your apex, your peak. So the funny thing is, it's weird, because tomorrow is my 50th, and that's just it's odd. It feels odd because the inner 19-year-old, I think you can all relate to this. I think most people, unless they're not being truthful with themselves, sort of kidding themselves, um, we have an inner child. It's something that's often spoken about, isn't it? Just we all talk about this amongst friends and family and amongst your peer set. It's like, yeah, I'm still 19, man. And that, as cliched as it sounds, is completely true. I mentally and emotionally, it's like just talking to you at this precise moment, I can transport myself back to Justin at 10, Justin at 15. And, I can, our minds are such weird things. I wonder if we'll ever understand our memories and our consciousness, because to talk about our brain versus our mind versus our personality versus our consciousness versus our memories, and there's a myriad of subjects there. And even if I say my next sentence, if I say, oh, the time is 8:24, this is going to sound really bonkers, but just bear with my logic. Just bear with me. I've just looked at the time now. It's 8:24. Yet I can play somewhere in my head. I can hear. I mean, literally hear and literally smell the sound of me popping an ollie on a skateboard. Now, for those of you that haven't done that, there's a certain crack of 7-ply laminated Canadian maple wood that goes into the concave structure of a grip tape covered skateboard deck, and then the snap, the pop of the tail as it hits tarmac, as it hits concrete, when you literally have to stamp down while simultaneously flicking and dragging your leading foot to the nose. Now, I won't go into details of describing technique, but I'm just giving you an example of an area of my life which I can't quite shed. So clearly, as I realise now, and I'm just literally trying to, I don't know, I'm just trying to make sense of this. I know tomorrow is this half century, and in fact, saying half a century is a bit more frightening than saying 50. And to get back to my earlier point, I know, well, I suppose the only way to do it would be to take a poll, wouldn't it? If I was to literally stand on a street corner with a clipboard, not that I would. I suppose you could do it online. The way to do it would be online, but people would lie, whether they'd be kind or polite or just cruel. You could say, "How old do you think I look?" And you'd have probably 50% of people saying, "Well, mate, you look about 58 to 60." And then some friendly people might say, "Oh, you look 45." I don't think I'd be accused of looking 40. Be nice, but it's weird. It's weird. I mean, I know, yeah, when I was skateboarding, and that's why I've described the crack and the smell of an ollie, because hot concrete smells. I can smell London, I can smell Los Angeles, you can smell a memory, you really can. Music, memories, sounds, sights. The other day I was playing some Janet Jackson of all artists, and it immediately propelled me back to Los Angeles, specifically Pacific Coast Highway. And I was there in an open top car, and then I realised it's 22 years ago. Just it was a rental car. I think it was called a Dodge Intrepid from memory, a silver thing. Huh. But the weird point I'm making is our perception of time elapsed. And I'm only being um, having these memories tonight specifically and wanting to share them with you for those who are going to watch or listen to this, whether it be live now or later on. Um, I had all these notions. I had a inner script. My script was you're never going to die. That was standard, wasn't it? When you would sort of, before you got to 15 or 16, probably the first decade or the first dozen years of your life, you kind of believe you won't die. And if I'm honest with you and honest with myself, I probably didn't believe I was going to die until my mid-20s. But only when you see other people die or you feel pain or you realize your own mortality and you're not made of rubber, um, do you realize you are finite? You're extremely mortal. Um, and I'm probably just on camera describing what most people would say is just a midlife, mate. You're just going through a midlife crisis. And it is a crisis of the consciousness, or should I say that, yes, the awareness, because I am aware, I'm acutely aware that time is running out or running up. And there's two ways of looking at this. You could say, well, if you're exceedingly lucky and you live your life right and make all the right moves and a big, big dollop of luck, like a big dollop of luck, and again, you behave in an immaculate fashion and you use modernity to your advantage, you use the modern advances of medicine, and you stay physically fit and just really, really go for it now. If I did all those things, and again, for the third time, got lucky as well, you might get this time again. You might get, I've often remarked on this live stream over the last year or so that, my granny, literally up the road, I'm going to have to check this, but she's either 106 or 107. I'm not even remotely exaggerating. I'm going to err on the side of caution and say 106, but I actually think, good Lord, you see, I'm just thinking, guys, no, this can't be right. She might even be 108, 109. I'm not joking, because I remember her 104th, and I think that was 2017 or 2018. So, she could, anyway, she's certainly more than 106. Yeah, I'd love to get to 100. It'd be great, I guess. But the weird thing is that the consciousness of memories, the awareness of your own mortality, the old expression, time and tide waits for no man. And of course, for the sake of being PC, no doubt, time and tide waits for no man would now be time and tide waits for no one, as they say. Trying to think who said that quote, who wrote that. But look, my dad popped off at 72. So it's very easy for me to do my own head in and say, well, tomorrow's your 50th. Let me give you my reasoning. And the alarmist in me, the idiot in me, thinks, like, I play very vividly my first day in Venice Beach. So I can remember getting off the plane at LAX and the smell and the heat, and then, I can't remember if it was Hertz or Thrifty or whatever. I'm going to say Hertz. I'm pretty sure it probably was Hertz actually. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I rented a car, but you've all heard of, Hertz and Thrifty. And I had this silver Dodge Intrepid, but the point I'm making is that that was 22 years, because it was around my birthday, 18th or 20th of Jan 2000. So that's 22 years ago. And I can't click. I can't click. No, it's this thumb's done in. Anyway, so if I say 22 years, which was such a recent memory because that's my first day at Venice Beach, my first free LA day, and I take my dad's death, which was 22 years from now, he popped off at 72. At the risk of sounding too somber, and I won't weigh heavy on this because it'll just ruin me. But you know what I'm going to say? Do the math. It's like, all right, you're 50 tomorrow. Your dad died at 72, which is 22 years' time. And your memory, Justin, like words to self, that, when you have those chats with yourself, my memory of Venice Beach 22 years ago feels extremely recent. I mean, extremely recent. And that means that if I live to my father's age, which was 72, I've got that little last 22 years to come again, and that's me gone. That's it, done. So, and I hope that's not the case. I hope I crack 80 and 90. Hell, I hope I crack 100. Whatever. We all say this, but the point is, no amount of planning, no amount of speculation, no amount of wishing or hoping or hedging my bets, or do you know what I mean? Like I said a minute ago, it will take huge amounts, gobs of luck, and me doing everything within my power and denying that I've got, some very serious comorbidities, but I choose to emotionally say that's not me. I choose to say, well, they're not real anymore. I'm not going to sit here and list what has happened the last 15 years because you've mostly heard it before. Suffice to say, I can't pretend they're not real, but I do want to get a longer life. I want to get I'm just going to turn this light down. I think this light's a bit bright. I always do this. Anyway, it's a funny thing. You get very contemplative. You get very retrospective. Yeah, is the word. And like I say, and again, it's another cliche. You couldn't tell a youngster this. You can only have this discussion when you're in your fourth and fifth decade. It's trickery. It's trickery pokery, because if you grab a 10-year-old, and that sounds really dodgy, don't grab a 10-year-old. If you spoke to a 10-year-old, they've got no concept of time. They've got no concept, good evening, somebody there. They've got no concept of time elapsed. So, and again, I don't like cliches. I don't like sounding like a walking cliche. I don't like it. But I am aware that as we age and we say it to ourselves and we say it to each other, oh, doesn't time fly? And it didn't, time wasn't this quick. Our the concept of time and the way we perceived time. Um, you know, when you're a kid in your youth, don't grab a 10-year-old. I'm Stevie. Oh, by the way, I've just seen on the Android phone what you've done, and I couldn't respond because I just turned the camera on and I turned the ping to silence, Steve. But all I can say is I was literally turning the cameras on and I was like, holy shit, that's massive, Steve. That's huge. You don't know what that means to me, mate. That's a vast thing you've done. Like, I'm saying to you now, my value these days, my perception of that type of thing is very different to what it was when I had my gym in the old life. So that's a huge thing you've done. So a massive thank you, a big thank you. I'll text you afterwards anyway, but that's whopping, mate. That's just thank you so very much. Very kind indeed. Thank you. And that's the only reason I didn't respond because I was literally turning the cameras on. But thank you, bless your heart. So yeah, don't grab a 10-year-old. But what I'm trying to convey, and I'm doing a terrible job of it really, is like sitting here now, and look, we can all do this as an exercise. We can all play, like it's like, you know, run, whatever that expression is. God, I should know it more than anyone. Run VR, run whatever they say. What do we used to say? Not rush. Anyway, you run tape, run VT, run VR. Where you run the tape of your mind, your memories. You think, oh, your first kiss, your first snog, when you lost your virginity, when you first got beaten up, when you did your first wheelie on a bike, when you did your first ollie, when you fell out of a tree, whatever, all these little milestones. When you pass your driving test, you finish school, the first day at school, the last day at school. The first time you got into an adult movie, the first time you passed your bike test. If you're into motorbikes or a car test or whatever. And it's only when you play these little things, and again, I'm going to apologise for the fifth time because my pet hate, my pet peeve is cliches. I don't like the sound of. It's very easy to, if you're doing essentially a monologue like this, to be a walking cliche, and that's just something I don't like. But summer holidays as a child went on for months, or so it seemed. So I can sit here now and go, why is it at 8 and 10 and 12 or 16 or 18 did I have all the time in the world? And as you age, maybe I think our minds must change because we don't. And like I say, if I can literally beat modern science or use modern science, and use modernity to my advantage and have huge luck and swerve my father's genetics and my mother's genetics and my 5 comorbidities, if I can swerve all that, and believe me, I intend to, I intend to, you know, because the reality is, now I know that I'm 50 tomorrow, and of course 50 doesn't sound. I wonder if you had this, Steve. Did this go through your mind when you hit 50? Because, you know, and you daren't say to people, you daren't conduct some sort of poll or a survey, a metaphorical clipboard, isn't it? How old do you think I look? Oh, honestly, just not a day over 59, mate. Not a, I'd be mortified. Like, let's say tomorrow, if I walked in, like I went to the gym today, which was stupid because my neck is far from right. And, I've taken a week off anyway with this neck. But so if I appear a bit, mind you, my chair does swivel. I sit on and off this chair and it just does that, swiveling chair. But, that's my limit, just about that. Yeah, that's enough. That's just fucking ridiculous. Anyway, so my point is, if I'd said to an attractive 25, 30-year-old girl this afternoon at the gym, had I been so bold and stupid and gone, go for me, you can see it, can't you now? Like old, bold, out of shape bloke walks up to young, fit thing that, well, even 15 years ago, I would have had, maybe even 10 years ago, I would have had a shot at, a crack at, but not now, And make no mistake, today, there were probably 4 girls, maybe 5, in my immediate vicinity. One was doing lying leg curls, one was doing hip thrusts, one was doing like a lunge, little monkeys' foreheads on display everywhere, little baps, like a little bap, flowered, covered little, you know what I mean, right? Just absolute Turkish delight left and right. And I'm looking at these little girls, I'm thinking, you're probably half my age. You probably have a father my age. And that's where hello mate, you're right. And that's where, nice to see you, that's where I've got to have words with myself, because the reality is, I mean, what are we now? We're 8:45. So it's fair to say, again, let's make it recent, let's make it local. 4 hours ago, at 4:45, when I was frequenting my local gym, yes, there were literally 4, 5, maybe half a dozen extremely attractive girls in my immediate vicinity. Like I say, one was doing Romanian deadlifts actually, and she had those marl grey sweatpants on. In my head, in my idiot head, I'm thinking, yeah, you're 28 just. You'd ruin that. And no, you're not 28 just. You're 50. And not only are you a 50-year-old that's perhaps in shape, because let's face it, there's a chance. There's guys these days that are deep in their 50s. There's guys these days who are 60 and more, and they're in great shape. And if I really, really go for it for the next 2 or 3 years, then, I know, like, my body's got a track record of being good, but that was then. That was then. I was younger, stronger, fitter, leaner, metabolism, and assistance, like, as in, all the nutritional, all the supplemental, and the chemical. That's the reality. So, like, the sad, awful truth is, I can be at the gym looking at girls who are probably at a push, 25, 28 maybe. And unless I've got, a spare $500,000, it's true, because you only see blokes that are sort of 50 or 60 with a girl 25, 35 when they've got a lot of that. It's true. So at the risk of making this the most depressing live stream ever, unless I miraculously in the next 5 to like, so I'm writing this book, and like the sort of conversation I'm having in my own idiot mind is like, okay, just if you write the book, you finish the book, And number one, it's got to be good enough. It's got to be compelling enough. It's got to be interesting enough that a publisher, I mean, people don't realise how hard it is to get published. That's why a lot of people, authors, end up self-publishing. So again, reality, you've got to self-publish it, because how dare I presume that the book I'm writing, which by the way is called In Exclusion, it's not a real word, it's a made-up word. How dare I presume that my edgy story, my gritty story, which is actually very humorous, dare I say it, because there's a lot of funny anecdotes in it, might be, you know, again, it's like you better finish it, Justin. Like, finish that third draft, get it read, get it proofread, get your final draft, like spell check it to death, and then get somebody else. I'd have to give it to you, seriously, to you and to you, to Nin and to Steve, like people I know, people who know me. I'd say, right, mate, there's 400 pages. Give it a read this month. Give it a read over the next couple of months. Read a page or two a day. Let me know what you think. And then it's like, again, how much of a dickhead would I be if I said, "Oh, guys, it's all right. I've got a plan. I've written a book. It's brilliant. It's funny, right? It's about all the shit I did, good and bad. It's funny. It's dark. It's tragic. It's sad. It's hilarious. It's crazy. It's wacky. It's this. It's gritty." And I'm gonna be like as successful as J.K. Rowling. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not writing Harry Potter. Hand it over, and I will yeah, I will, Steve, I will. Trust me, you'll be the first. Because, Steve, I started it at your house, for God's sake. I started this in 07. Yes, and you might remember that. I never threw it away. Well, the original, probably first 150-ish pages were lost with the gym with Rob and Tina. Anyway, it did me a favour because I had to start it all over again. But it's a story. And of course, the other thing is, I can't fall into the genre of, oh, have you heard Justin's written a book and it's about bodybuilding and door work and like all these anecdotes and like, well, you file that under B1N for bin. That's Waterstone's true crime. There's loads of ex-doormen and ex-bodybuilders that have written pieces of shit like that. That's not me, because even though I've walked that line, frankly, I write better than that. Not being funny. There's blokes. What's his name? Did all the Essex Boys books. Bernie Mahoney. Bernie the Bolt, whatever he's called. Bernie fucking Magnum. And him. Look, the point I'm making is, how do I, at 50, go, guys, I've got it. I've now got several hundred grand in my account. I've done it. I've done it. Fucking neck. Oh my God. Talk about late bloomer. And it's like, that's my point. What's your plan? What's your plan, man? The script was, well, obviously I'm going to leave school and earn lots of money. I think we all did this. You're 16, you're 18, you get your end away, you get your first job, you get your first car. All of a sudden, your 20s are gone. You're like, oh, what did I do in my 20s? Well, I went to some nightclubs and did some shagging. Oh, okay. It's true, right? For all of us. And then you go, I'm not saying this to be like Debbie Downer, but it's just sort of true, isn't it? And then most blokes, you hit that 30, 35, you're like, yeah, I better make a family, better get on with it, right? So now, in the case of me, that came and went. I'm not being funny. That ship has sailed. Right? It's bloody gone. sure, sure, I might meet a nice girl tomorrow, but even if I met an amazing girl tomorrow, and then within a year, married her, I'm now 51, and then within the next year, like, because you guys know I can't, there's no sperm there, right? It's gone, like really gone. We're talking medically retrograde ejaculation and an ejaculation, so it's just not in there, right? So I'd have to get a good who would it be? Huh. Well, it would be not virology. Yeah, virology. No, not virology. No, not gas. No, oh, guy. Genitourinary, wouldn't it? It'd be gum. It'd be genitourinary medicine, wouldn't it? With a specialist in testosterone. I do know actually one at King's and one at Guy's, to be fair. And they'd then have to get my sperm, like aspirate it out. They would freeze that shit, and then all of a sudden I'm like 52, 53, and I'd then have to say to this girl that I've met, and how old would she be? How old would the girl be? The girl might be, bear in mind I've got no money, right? So it's funny. This shit's quite funny, right? I'll be like, listen, love, I'm 50, and this is what I earn each month. I've got fucking hell. Do you see the picture I'm painting here? You've got to laugh, guys. It's quite funny, really. Because if you don't laugh, it's like, just pass me the pills. I'll do myself tomorrow. I shouldn't joke about such things, but I'm saying it very tongue in cheek. I'm being intentionally light-hearted about this, because it's the best attitude to have. Because this would be radically different if I was 35 or even 40, actually, just that spare decade. But it's gone. It's really gone. So yeah, it wouldn't be so bad if I was the age I am, but physically really squared away. Like, oh, have you seen Justin? He's completely brilliant. He's like, super lean, and he runs 8 miles a day, and he's fucking away. Like, if I was sort of independently wealthy and was still able to go out, as a real specimen and be like, yeah, have you seen this girl I've got? She's 30, and it wouldn't look weird, and like, because I could pull it off. But again, that's not the case either, is it? So the other reality is this, right? Here's a funny one. If I meet a girl, the reality is she's likely to be a divorcee. She's likely to have kids. She's likely to have had several relationships or marriages, possibly a grandparent. It's true. If I met a girl that was 45, oh my God, that sounds so old. But I'm 50. Tomorrow I'm 50. Anyway, I'm just weighing up all my options here. So the best thing that can happen to me, let's be quite honest, guys, is that I don't die in the next 20 years. And then I literally, like, all of a sudden, between 50 and 55, you're like, have you seen what's happened to Justin? He was on Joe Rogan for the 3rd time. Yeah, he's got like 500,000 followers, and he's pulling in like 20 grand a month off YouTube. He's done it. All because that book he wrote. Well, that would literally be the best case scenario. Yeah. Crickets, innit? Tumbleweeds, pin dropping. Fucking hell. Oh, I mustn't swear. The YouTube algorithm doesn't like it. But seriously, I've just got to realise what this is. 20 years from 70. There you go, have that. But hey, I have to remain optimistic. I have to remain positive, and God help me, I will. Um, the only people that know I'm 50 tomorrow are you guys, you two. My brother knows. So I'm not even, you know me, I'm not talking shit, I'm being deadly serious. So Stevie and Nin, Gav knows, and my ex, Donna. That's it. 4 people. It's crazy. And the weird thing is, when I was 25, you're like, oh, when I'm 50, I'll be looking at hanging up my gloves. I'll be looking at, yeah, I got a couple of kids and, house, wife with massive, great silicon jugs and, you know, an arse that's connected to a scapula, like a human question mark, and hamstrings and calves for days, and big old, duck lips, a right specimen, sorry, a sort of hybrid between, you know, um, Jessica Biel with Jessica Chastain with Jessica Alba. There you go, all 3 Jessicas for me. I'll just be happy with Jessica Biel, actually. Women with too many teeth in their mouths, that's really, for me, where my boat is most floated. A busy mouth, a crowded mouth. The mouth is a bit too wide and the teeth are too many. Those faces. Daisy Ridley, she had, too many going on. Jessica Biel, too much going on. I love that. I think that's brilliant. I don't want symmetry. I don't want, when you see these Instagram girls, you see girls that look like cartoons. Oh, that's awful, man. I want a girl that's out of proportion. I want a girl that sort of looks like the bird next door. But do you know what I mean? Just attractive, but unconventionally attractive. A bit like me, which actually means ugly. Like the most charitable description of my head, my looks would be, yeah, if we catch you just right, just at the right angle, right? If we just get you the angle, you're sort of rugged, just, which is really polite for saying, you're not literally like, the hunchback of Notre Dame. But anyway, look, I am being positive. It's a big turning point, half a century tomorrow, and I've got to keep a goofball attitude. I've got to keep this light. It's true. It's true. It's a real. It would be a mistake for me to, become too melancholy about this. To because if I list the facts, if I list the real truth, and you guys know the truth, you guys know the actual situation, and if you look at that on its face, you might as well say, dude, you might as well call it a day. Seriously, you just, we're off your trot. Just either jump off that cliff or just do it quickly. Don't drag it out. Just get yourself off. Get yourself off quickly, mate. I don't know. You've got to laugh. You've got to laugh. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it to be dramatic. I'm not. It's funny. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of that. You all get the picture. You all get the picture. It's all I can say is that everything I ever heard. God, this neck is ridiculous. Everything I was ever warned about, everything that I ever heard when I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s about, life's too short, like, yep, it is, yeah, it's weird, like even texting back and forth with my, ex-girlfriend tonight, it's like, she was the one, you know. It's like, yeah, but that ended 22 years ago, you actual sap, you know. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Right. So look, let's do a little bit of news. That's 45 minutes, and I'm going to go. Okay. I'm not going to go back into JFK. I'm not going to open a can of worms tonight, although I will say to everyone, please watch Ollie Stone's recent JFK revisited Through the Looking Glass, because if you're a fan of JFK conspiratorial fact, there's nothing, let me say it again, there's nothing theoretical about what the CIA and the FBI and the CIA again did to John Fitzgerald Kennedy and Bobby. They took those brothers out in 63 and 68 respectively. They shot them deader than dead. And it wasn't a lone gunman, and you all know that, and it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald, and you all should know that. And to think that's the case is akin to saying, oh yeah, you know, both towers went down on September 11th and Building 7, just like that. Just like that. No. Okay. Moving on. The real Anthony Fauci, speaking of Kennedys, and this is Robert, this is RFK. Now, RFK, Robert Kennedy, is the son of Bobby, I think. Met you at Metro Flex years ago. It's been great to catch up on these posts and that you're well. Love listening to these. Oh, brilliant. Lewis. Is that, oh, Justin, you prick. Send me a message. Lewis. Are you the guy with a good physique with tats? I hope I've got that right. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But then again, I am shit. But yes, do give me a message. And thank you. So look, I don't not read because I don't want to read. I actually thoroughly enjoy reading paper. But because I'm writing this book, and as I've learned from, I look at good journalists, you know, Matt Taibbi, Glenn Greenwald, Michael Malice, good authors, good journalists, proven ones. And you sort of curate and you sort of edit on the fly, but not too much. You actually just splurge it out. And I'm using my iPad Pro here. So it's good for me. Anyway, I will get the book finished this year. And my I can't turn this head. My daily mantra is that there is a book in me. There's more than a book in me. Anyway, the real Anthony Fauci, right? Now, for those of you here that are open-minded, okay, I don't have a position on, you know, I'm not into the, are you pro-vax, are you anti-vax? The only one I'm really anti on is mandates. It is any governing body ordering or compelling or forcing or mandating its people, its populace. Yes, do. Okay, no, that's brilliant. You're training with Jeff. Oh, Jeff is a lovely man. Yeah, no, do send me a text. Yeah. Look, whether we're looking at our English GlaxoSmithKline Sotrovimab or Molnupiravir or the aforementioned fantastic prophylactic preemptive strike called ivermectin, which of course has been around for 5 decades, and even your monoclonals. I mean, let's just quickly give a shout out for hydroxychloroquine and even just chloroquine. These meds, repurposed or not, have been around for 4 and 5, and in the case of hydroxy, 6 decades. Now, EUA, emergency use authorization. When you see literal evil like Rochelle Walensky, head of CDC, and of course Tony Fauci, National Institute of Health and National Infectious Disease, NIAID and the CDC and Tedros, the World Health Organization, and all these people. What's happened, and thank God it has, with the recent leaked emails between Francis Collins, boss of Fauci at the National Institute of Health, and our awful Peter Daszak here at EcoHealth Alliance, is the clear, patent attack on the great Barrington fantastic trio of doctors, the Great Barrington Declaration, named because it took place in Great Barrington. So it was named after geography. And all it ever was, to put it into some sort of context, is a declaration based on a conservative way of not locking down a country, but looking after the vulnerable people, the people that would be most inclined to get sick quick and possibly die, and therefore to give effective prophylaxis or gene therapy. Bear in mind that the current vaccination has got nothing to do with immunisation or inoculation. Don't take my word for it, look on the website. When I say the website, I mean the CDC and the WHO and our NHS and EcoHealth Alliance and NIH and NIAID. Look on their websites. They've removed the language inoculation, immunisation, because it's not. We know efficacy is 4 to 6 weeks per shot. We know naturally acquired robust immunity can be 6 months or 6 years, depending on who you are and where you're at in your life. We know virulency is waning, transmissibility is gaining, which is a good thing. Let me be very clear. You don't need to be an epidemiologist or a virologist or any ologist to understand that the role of a vaccine, excuse the pun, the rollout of a vaccine is to increase its transmissibility and to decrease its virulency. It becomes less aggressive, less virulent, less infectious, but more transmissible. It spreads more because it wants to live. It doesn't want to kill its host. It doesn't want to be too brutal, and that's why Delta was worse than Omicron. None of this is controversial. It's actually quite sane to understand that this is how it happens. A good virus replicates, and it doesn't want to kill who it's in. It wants to make you a bit ill, a bit sick, and just keep living. And that's your transmissibility. And of course, without getting into the pros, especially with the recent Rogan podcast when it had Josh Zepps on, about, are you going to get myocarditis from the vax or from COVID? And how the mainstream media love to see Rogan trip up on that one. But I'm listening to, that's what I was going to say. I don't read books anymore. I listen to them all on Audible. I'm only on chapter 3 of The Real Anthony Fauci, and I bought it on Audible on the day of release, and I don't regret it because it's truly shocking. Just to give you a little taster, Liverpool's Andrew Hill, Dr. Andrew Hill, fought our Tess Lawrie. Now, Tess Lawrie is the leading light in ivermectin with Dr. Pierre Corrie and Dr. Paul Marek, the Frontline COVID Care Alliance, that lot, right? Our Tess Laurie at the BIRD conference, I'm going to embarrass myself now because I can't remember what the BIRD acronym stands for, but between April 2020 and April 2021, not only did the Nobel Peace Prize winning ivermectin used to treat billions, not millions, billions of humans in every country bar the UK and the US, because the concerted effort to smear and bring down ivermectin, the campaign by Francis Collins, by Tony Fauci, by our Liverpudlian Andrew Hill. I say he's Liverpudlian, he works at the University of Liverpool. And guess who paid? Please check this out. Please fact check me. Guess who paid Andrew Hill at the University of Liverpool 40 million? And it's in dollars, but it's still $40 million. It's still a whack of change to that university for his grant to smear ivermectin, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Okay. BMGF, I'm deadly serious. Bill and Melinda Gates, don't care if they're together or not, literal evil. When you realise that between Fauci, Collins and Gates, we're talking hundreds of millions into the billions of discrediting ivermectin at $4 a dose, and bringing in things like molnupiravir, which are made by Merck, and Merck made ivermectin, by the way, in the first damn place, at $730 a course. So you can spend between £4 and £12 on a course of ivermectin. It makes me angry. Or £730 to £750 on molnupiravir, and it's the same damn drug. What these people are doing is evil, and I think I might have said it to you, Steve. I can't quite remember if I said it to you or not, or knowing me, I might have said it to myself in the flat. I believe in future decades, Fauci, etc., will be spoken about in the same way that we speak about people that have killed many millions, almost genocidal. I believe when we're talking about the late Dr. Fauci, 10, 12 years from now, when he's brown bread, because what is he now, 81? Excuse me, I think history will prove that this man and his little group, because we've all seen the emails now. Again, this is not about my positioning on vaccination, because for the record, I do believe that if the vaccine can stop people who are fantastically compromised, who are immunocompromised, let's just say high risk, let's just say 4 or more comorbidities. I mean, I have 5 out of 6. I'm doing well, but the idea of this failed vaccine, and it is a failed vaccine because it was purported. It was, again, I'm not anti it. I'm just fair. It was sold, the promise was one and done, wasn't it? It was one and done. You have your shot and you are immunized, you are inoculated, you are done. That isn't the case. And we now know, even if the great unwashed like me are the cases that are perhaps more prone to it. And I think there is a direct correlation, possibly, between people that are hospitalized and losing their lives that haven't been vaccinated. At the very least, we know it's not inoculation, we know it's not immunization, but we do know that it gives some cover for hospitalization leading to death if you have comorbidities. And then we're getting into a can of worms. Did you die of COVID or with COVID? I was appalled as anyone was over the weekend. I think it was Sunday, to see Rochelle Walensky and Fauci doing their theatre, purely performative, behind their masks, in front of Senate, saying again, and they said it actually out loud, please YouTube this, that if somebody gets hit by a car and they happen to have COVID, they are marked down as a COVID death. That this came from their mouths. This is not a Joe Rogan episode. This is not me getting on my soapbox and becoming Tim Pool hyperbolic. This is Rochelle Walensky and Tony Fauci themselves saying to Congress, look at me doing a Trump, that, and they actually say verbatim, if you had a car crash, and you've just been vaccinated, or, we mark it down. He actually said we don't take it as a vaccine-related death if you're hit by a car, but we do take it as a COVID death if you're hit by a car. So it was a double negative, paradoxical sentence. In other words, we're under, in lay terms, guys, and again, you can watch this on YouTube for yourselves, underreporting vaccine adverse event reaction, okay, VAERS report, or register, sorry, vaccine adverse event registry, sorry. Whatever. Anyway, I'm nearly there. And yet we are reporting it as a COVID death if you are struck down by a moving motor vehicle and you happen to have COVID. Again, this is in plain sight manipulation of figures. So look, I'm not trying to be contrary. I'm not trying to be controversial, but it has become controversial. The COVID-sation has become weaponized and politicized. It's become a tribal sport. It's become, divisive. God, bloody neck. But anyway, it is what it is. If you can download, well, you don't need to download it. Just get it on. If you've got the Audible app, Audible, along with your collection of Jordan Peterson material, which you should have. Do get yourselves the real Anthony Fauci, because it's opened my eyes. And here's just to wrap this up, can I finish by saying, if this was nonsense, if the real Anthony Fauci was, and I'm talking at a litigious level, a legal level, if this was all nonsense, if it was all conspiracy theory, do you not think that Fauci himself and the NIH and Collins and all these people would not be suing the living shit out of RFK, Robert Kennedy? They would. Now, whether it's, will you call it slander or I never know which one's which in the law, libelist or slander, whatever, I'm just not qualified. And I don't want to make a Charlie of myself by, professing to know. The point I'm making is the open challenge given to just all concerned from Robert Kennedy, author of this book, he said, I challenge Fauci and anyone I've written about publicly to come at me and to literally sue the living daylights out of me if I'm factually incorrect. If anything in this book that I have, in terms of its content, in terms of, because there's so many citations in it, thousands. He said, if I'm wrong, then I will retract, I will apologise, I will do a redaction, and literally, which you have to do in print. You have to say, I got it wrong, I'm sorry. But no, they're not coming for him because it's true. So I rest my case. If Fauci and Collins and Walensky and Gates and all these malevolent Machiavellian actors were innocent, then it would be a huge litigation. It'd be a massively litigious case. It would be, lawyered up to the nines. You can imagine it now, can't you? It would be, opera, soap opera, real high drama. So, but the fact that RFK isn't getting sued for, speaking things that aren't true is all the indication that you should need or require or want that what is contained within that book, and again, I'm only on chapter 3, is frankly watertight proof. He's done his research, and if you're reporting things that are factually correct, then that's that's that. Just either, if you're like me, listen to the book, or if you're a non-Audible fan, then read it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go. That's episode 461, third time lucky, finally done. My neck just about got through. I am going to lie down. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. Thank you. Nice to see you, Lewis. Thank you. Do send me a message on Instagram. Please do. Say whatever you want. Tell me I'll talk too much. Stevie, thank you again to you. Big love to you, sir. And Nin, thank you to you. I'm going to go. And yeah, there you go. Big head movement from me. Right. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. It'll be the 50th tomorrow, so I'll have probably aged another 10 years. Okay. Take care and thank you thank you. All right. Same time, same place, same ugly face tomorrow.